Today we're gonna be continuing the reaction of SCP-4217 containing the Bismarck.
On the hull of the ship, thaumatological symbols, for the layman, are symbols that embody the study of miracles. Because of this, it was apparent to the Foundation that some occult anomaly was responsible for the strange characteristics of the German vessel, and an order for termination was reached by the O5 Council. The hunt for SCP-4217. In the autumn of 1940, under orders of neutralization of SCP-4217, all active Foundation agents presiding in Germany were ordered to converge on the side of the Bismarck to stop the completion of the vessel. But when the time came for the operation, every single one of the Foundation agents vanished. No records of what happened were ever found. No clothing, notes, not even a trace of their existence was left behind. The mission was deemed a failure, and subsequent attempts to neutralize SCP-4217 became far more difficult after the Bismarck received a full crew of seamen. The fully manned and well-equipped SCP-4217 became a menace to both military and civilian craft on the high seas of the Atlantic, at times appearing without warning, seemingly out of thin air. SCP-4217's psionic field obscured it from the new technological advancements in enemy radar systems the U.S. government had in development. The ship became a SCP-4217. In the autumn of 1940, under orders of neutralization of SCP-4217, all active crew of seamen, the fully manned and well-equipped SCP-4217 became a menace to both military and civilian craft on the high seas of the Atlantic, at times appearing without warning, seemingly out of thin air. SCP-40.
Why does it look like the front of the boat is normal, but the back is just like a PT boat?
217's psionic field obscured it from the new technological advancements in enemy radar systems the U.S. government had in development. The ship became a shadow on the Atlantic.
Why didn't the other ship fire?
A subject of ghost stories for anyone daring to ascend toxic fumes and experience vomiting and convulsions, their bodies undergoing rapid involuntary mutation.
Hold on guys, hold on a minute.
Rapid involuntary mutagenesis, including the growth of limbs, the development of fur, feathers, and scales. In one report, it was said that multiple victims even fused together to create one single horrifying entity. Those exposed to the gaseous compound were designated SCP-4217-1. The captain of the HMS Hood barricades himself inside the helm, but the resulting instances of SCP-4217-1 overpower the ship and neutralize command. In the seconds that follow, any witness of the horror that the men aboard the HMS Hood experienced is forever entombed in the watery grave of the British vessel, as the ship is sunk by a volley of munitions fire from the combined might of the German fleet. Some men attempting to jump overboard and swim to safety are dragged down by their legs by the mutated instances of SCP-4217 and pulled under, lungs filling with seawater, as they scream until their breath is no more. In disbelief, the crew of HMS Prince of Wales decides to retreat. In the days that followed, at the bequest of Foundation members, the British Royal Navy launches a full-scale armada to hunt down and neutralize the Bismarck. Though SCP-4217 sustained little damage in the previous encounter, the ship began leaking a black oil-like substance thought by SCP researchers to be an organic waste product of SCP-4217-B. The Allied Naval Force...
That was not an organic wasting. That was oil. And the oil was spotted by a scout plane. And then they located the Bismarck.
Forces are able to follow the trail to the coast of France, where under the lead of HMS King George V, British warships surround the German vessel and open fire. This time, they were ready. With approval from the O5 Council, Foundation members provide the British forces with enhanced munitions and armament, capable of overwhelming SCP-4217's thaumatological defenses. On the eve of battle, it appears to the Allied forces that the psionic field generated by SCP-4217 is too great, as the naval company find it difficult to land targeted assaults on the German vessel. After losing several smaller vessels to the colossal appendages of SCP-4217, Foundation members on board authorize the use of a redacted SCP. It is brought in to deactivate SCP-4217's psionic field. The tide of the battle turns, and after a fierce battle, SCP-4217 becomes immobile and unable to return.
There's no more place where the scout plane was, and there wasn't two holes. And where's the command thing? It's nowhere, it's gone. There's just a pole.
Fire. Relentless, the British continue their bombardment until the artillery munitions on the ship explode into a giant fireball, flooding the ship's compartments with the noxious fumes of the mutagenic compound. Its crew members either jump overboard or are engulfed in the cloud of gas. The British vessels capture any survivors and watch as SCP-4217 slowly sinks below the waves, down to the depths of the ocean where it would lay dormant for the next 48 years. SCP-4217's 121 surviving crew members were captured and interrogated. Most of the low-ranking German soldiers were released to British custody, 109 of them having their memory wiped by Foundation staff. 12 remaining members of the crew were sent to Site-23 for further detention and advanced interrogation, and 74 of the instances of SCP-4217-1, the mutated subjects, were recovered and sent to Site-23 for further observation. It was thought that on that day, SCP-4217 was deemed neutralized and no longer a matter of priority. The Bismarck sunk into memory and myth. It was only until the recent resurgence of SCP-4217 that the Foundation saw the need to collect as much information on the organism inhabiting SCP-4217-A as possible. Decades-old manuscripts and ledgers were pulled from hundreds of viable sources. From the intelligence then gathered, Foundation members have come to the hypothesis that the entity powering the vessel known as the Bismarck has what is believed to be extraplanetary origin. World War II-era documents uncovered between Commander Karl Reuter of the German Obscura Corps and a Dr. Hans Meyer indicated discovery of an organic life form of unknown origin found in a crashed area.
Crashed area? What's a crashed area? A crashed area in where? In the middle of nowhere?
Aircraft near Feldberg Park in the Black Forest mountain range in Germany. Further correspondence with Obscura Corps members to close in on SCP-4217's location, with orders to subdue the vessel if necessary. However, on this occasion, SCP-4217 did not appear to be after any vessel. It was simply drifting along at sea, no propulsion engines active. Noticing the change in SCP-4217's behavior, Captain Kurt Wegner decided to withhold military engagement and investigate SCP-4217's.
Don't ever do that. Just start firing. Because, it's a trap. You know it's a trap.
Behavior. Sailing within 200 meters of the Bismarck, the SCPS Nemed attempted radio contact with the German vessel. After repeated attempts at communication, the crew were met with only silence and static chatter. Giving up, Captain Wagner puts down the radio receiver when suddenly, the sound of music is heard playing over the speakers of it.
Hold on, is this Eureka? Oh my god.
Ship. The tune is the national anthem of Nazi Germany. The captain hails the vessel again, repeating his attempts at communication. Do you understand me? At first, only static can be heard. Then came a reply. The ominous voice could be heard from the speakers. The captain hesitated for a moment, members of the crew looking at each other with apprehension. The captain replied, confirming themselves as a ship, and then asking if SCP-4217 knew what it was and where it came from. What followed was the crew of the SCPS Nemed receiving a video feed from SCP-4217, featuring a high volume of images in rapid succession. Among them were images of German cities, Adolf Hitler's telecast of the 1936 Olympics, an unknown structure in outer space, and in increasing repetition, images of the planet Jupiter, particularly the giant storm on Jupiter known to the public as the Great Red Spot, or SCP-2399, as Foundation members know it. The transcript of the radio communication between Captain Wegner and SCP-2417 stops when the video feed begins to focus heavily on images of Jupiter. SCP-4217's responses become more erratic and agitated as it repeats the words storm, cloud, and red, the markings on its hull beginning to light up and the underwater shadows of its tentacles beginning to create whirlpools of displacement under the bow of the ship. A shrill shriek.
What? It's gonna be near a coast. It couldn't be in the middle of nowhere.
Begins to flood out of the speakers, followed by a high-piercing, high-pitched beeping sound that overloads the communication equipment, causing sparks to fly as crew members cover their ears and hide under control panels. The SCP-S Nemid barely escapes as SCP-4217 becomes hostile, using its massive tendril-like appendages to assail the naval combatants, firing its armament in all directions. After a fierce battle, the Foundation naval forces were able to neutralize and subdue SCP-4217. No further attempts at communication have been recorded. To keep the veil of secrecy, Foundation members constructed a replica ship to be sunk and intentionally rediscovered by oceanographer Robert Ballard in 1989. Any recent sightings of the Nazi-era Bismarck are flagged as misidentification by SCP staff. For now, Foundation members continue to monitor the behavior of SCP-4217 and protect the public from its existence. Now go check out SCP-1861, the crew of the HMS Wintersheimer, and SCP...
This video is fake. This never actually happened. So guys, this is not real. Just so you know, this is not real.